So we're finally getting to the point where Marvel Rivals is going to address one of the most controversial topics in the game, matchmaking. But are they trying to gaslight us, or are we all just wearing tinfoil hats? Let's talk about it. YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark, and today I'm here with something that I know a lot of people are extremely interested in. It has been one of the most controversial topics on this channel, within the community, pretty much since the game has came out. And, you know, we're at a point now where Marvel Rivals is finally starting to feel the heat, and they're going, hey, you know, this is something that we probably should address. And pretty much every game that I've played in the last 5 or 6 years has gotten to this point where at some point in time, they have to begin to address matchmaking, because people start to realize that there's something going on behind the scenes. And whether you're a new gamer or you're an old gamer, somewhere in between, whatever the case is, I'm sure that you've kind of started to have your opinions about it. And you have people that are on one side where they think that everybody's out here wearing their tinfoil hats and you know, it's all about you and there's nothing that's going on behind the scenes, and you're fully capable of doing everything to get wherever it is that you're supposed to do. And then you have some people on the other side, you know, I'd say 50% of people that feel like, no, that is completely rigged. You might as well be sitting at a slot machine, sitting there pulling a lever, and that's pretty much going to dictate the outcome of what's going on. So before we get into that, let's go ahead and preface a little bit. Let's go ahead and set the stage and you know, build the foundation before we start worrying about, you know, working on building the rest of the house, right? So I believe it was yesterday, it might have been the day before, the Marvel Rivals, the official Twitter, and I'm sure they did it on other, you know, social media platforms, but I predominantly use Twitter, or X as people like to call it nowadays. I'm not calling it that. But the point is that they came out, they had a post that said, "Hi Rivals, as our game continues to thrive, we want to reiterate that Marvel Rivals does not use EOMM. We are currently working on a video to demonstrate our developer insights on the matchmaking and ranking system, which is expected to be released next week." Now, before we even do any of that, something that I notice a lot of people, they're very confused. They say, well, what does EOMM actually stand for, and what does it actually mean? So let's talk about that, right? So what is EOMM? EOMM is a system designed to maximize player engagement. Rather than strictly enforcing fair skill-based matches, it adjusts matchups based on players' current streaks to keep them invested in the game. NetEase has described their matchmaking system, or they described their matchmaking system as complex, and hinted that more details will be shared in an upcoming developer video, which we just talked about in that tweet. Okay, so one of the first videos that I made that kind of got this channel to be more of a Marvel Rivals channel than a Call of Duty channel back when it was predominantly a Call of Duty channel was a crash out rant that I did. Now, the thing is that prior to this game, the only type of matchmaking manipulation that I was aware of was skill-based matchmaking. Now, for those of you who don't know, that, you know, that's SBMM, that is skill-based matchmaking. Skill-based matchmaking is where basically, for example, let's say that I'm a 3.5 or a 4.0 KD player, like in Call of Duty. That's usually where I kind of like stayed around. I would only ever play with people that were very, very close to my KD and my stats and stuff like that. So when you played regular, just the version of quick play in Call of Duty, or you played rank or whatever it was, you were always being put up against people that were pretty much identical to how you play. And the same goes for people that are lower KD players. If you have a 0.4 or one KD, 1.5, you would be put against people who had very similar skill levels to you. And the reason that they do that is because if you're a low skill player, you don't want to have to go up against people like me. That's just not very fair. It's like putting someone who just started boxing yesterday in the ring with Mike Tyson. Nobody thinks that's fair. If you heard that there was a guy that they just picked up off the street that was about to get into the ring with Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali or anybody like that, someone who was very experienced and had been doing this for years and years, decades even, we would kind of say to ourselves, well, this isn't really a fair matchup. It's the same reason we have weight classes. You don't want to see somebody who's 135 pounds boxing somebody who's 230 pounds, or wrestling this individual, or whatever the case is. This is why we have different divisions, and we have weight classes and all this different stuff. We try to keep things as fair as possible. So with me, I never thought there was really an issue with skill-based matchmaking. The only problem that I did have, which a lot of people are saying, well, if we had skill-based matchmaking in this game, it would solve everything. The problem, though, is, and I've said this multiple times, so if you're not new to the channel, I apologize, but I do have to reiterate this for people that this is their first time and they're just learning about this. The problem with skill-based matchmaking is that when you go into ranked, they actually have different ranks. So for example, your version of platinum will not be the same if you're a higher skill player as someone who is a lower skill player. They're not going into platinum and going up against you. They're in these protected lobbies where they only go up against people of a lower skill level that match their own. And when you are in whatever rank you're in, whether it be bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, grandmaster, whatever, you're always going to be going up against the same exact people because they're going to have to put you in with people of that similar skill. So it creates a disparity where you have people that think that they're diamond and gold player, or, platinum players, GM, whatever rank it is. When in reality, you're like, the people you're going up against really aren't that good. And that's understandable in lower ranks. But once you start getting up to higher ranks, you should be going up against people that are worthy of those ranks instead of basically getting the equivalent of a participation trophy, which is just not very fair. And the other problem with skill-based matchmaking is that when people want to go into quick play, you should have a variety in quick play. Quick play is supposed to be fun. That's how it's designed. There's a reason why there's quick play and why there's rank. I understand that some people do take quick play seriously because they just like to win, but you do have to understand that there has to be some type of mode where people can play and they can be more chill and relaxed and don't have to be fully sitting up in their gaming chair completely locked in. Maybe you want to try out new characters, you want to try out new play styles. Maybe you had a long day at work and you just want to come in and have fun and chill out. That's what it's there for. And like I said, when you have skill-based matchmaking, you cannot do that. It is going to make every single lobby feel like you're playing a ranked match. And even when you are in ranked, you're still not getting an actual true ranked experience because you're only going up against people that are identical to you. And that should only happen in ranked once you actually get to the point where you've reached your skill ceiling. That's when you're going to be going up against people who are the same or slightly better as you. So it makes ranked completely defeatist, and it makes quick play completely defeatist. So it is not a perfect option, but it is just one that games try to use. Now, going back to EOMM, I know a lot of people saying, well, why did you have to explain that? Well, because the reason why is because that's what people 9 times out of 10 will say. They'll say, EOM doesn't work, so what's the other option that we know of? Skill-based matchmaking. Well, that must be better because it's something that's different, and they both have their flaws. Now, the thing is that a lot of people still, to this day, as much as it's been talked about, as much as people have shown, I know a lot of people like to say, well, NetEase released a whole entire presentation. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that video at this point, where there's, the woman who's sitting back and she's describing how they have the patents for, EOMM and how they basically try to make sure that people stay at like a 50% win rate. And that if they start to notice that people are climbing too quickly, then they kind of like put them on teams where they're like forced to have to carry. And even then they're going up against teams of people where no one is having to carry. Everybody is equally skilled and they're all working together, and they're being paired with people that basically complement the characters they like to pick. Like an example would be if you're a tank player, you're not going to get put with all other tank players. You'll be put with another tank player, 2 DPS, 2 supports, or people that can at least play those roles and play them comfortably. Whereas on your team, you're probably going to get 5 or 6 people that like to insta-lock Widow for some strange reason and sell the match, or a handful of Jeff players or whatever. And not the good Jeff players. Like the Jeff players like to eat you and throw you off of a map. Or it might be that you get paired with people that are having a bad day and they're already tilted and they're on a losing streak. And the reason that they seem to do this because, they say it's engagement optimized matchmaking. That's the whole thing with the EOMM. And the problem with that is that for a lot of people, it actually just turns them away. But the problem is that you have to be able to cater to what I consider to be the 70% or higher. And when I say the 70% or higher, that's the average player. The average player is not getting on to actually be the best player. They're not sitting here watching every single tips and tricks YouTube video. They're not learning how to counter. They're not doing any of this other stuff. They're like, hey, I like Iron Man. This game has Iron Man. I'm going to only play Iron Man. And no matter what happens, I'm never switching. And if anything, it makes my life inconvenient, I'm just going to get on the internet and I'm going to complain all day about it until they nerf everything that's an inconvenience for me. And then the moment that they come for my character, I'm going to complain about that. And that's the problem with the hero shooter, with something that's completely different from something like Call of Duty, where everybody is equal in regards to their character. And there is no abilities or anything like that. You don't rely on people to heal you or any of that other kind of stuff. The only time you need your teammate is if you need to be revived. And even then, you could just get a self-revive, multiple self-revives, store them. And whenever you go down, you just crawl behind cover and revive yourself. You get your own plates, so you can plate up, replate your vest and stuff like that. Everybody has the option to get their loadout that they like and feel comfortable with and play the way they want to. But in a game like this, you are reliant, if you're going up against a team that is actually competent, you are reliant on your team to do things. You can't play every role. If you're a tank, you need your DPS to DPS. You need your supports to support. If you're a support player, you can't be playing DPS and tank. You need the tanks to make space. You need the DPS to do damage. That's in the names, damage per second. That's what DPS means, right? So it's not possible for you to do everything. And I know a lot of you have felt that when you're like, man, I'm healing these people. I'm getting eliminations. I'm ulting good, but the tanks aren't pushing up. They're hiding behind me, or the DPS is not doing anything. They're 3 and 15 right now. I need them to do something, right? And we've all felt it regardless of what role that you're in, whether it's tank, DPS, or support, right? And this is how EOMM works. And like I said, there are a lot of people that are very, like, I would say in denial, but it seems more like it's fear. And the reason that I think that is because when you start to think that maybe the rank that you got to, it wasn't solely based off of just your merit or your skill level. Maybe there was some level of manipulation there. That makes a lot of people afraid. And what do people do when they're afraid of stuff? They become fearful, or you know, when they don't like something, they become fearful of it, right? And that's just how we are. This is why you think about it. Whenever there's something that you don't know, like let's say something just came out of the woods right now and it had big teeth and it was scary with red eyes and stuff like that. You didn't know anything about it. Your first instinct is probably going to be to run and get away from that thing, because that's just kind of human nature. That's how we are. All right. We fear what we don't understand. It's just that simple. But let's say that, you know, and I think a better example of this is my dog, right? I have a really big, you know, he's like a Belgian Malinois, you know, looks like a giant all black German Shepherd, right? Most people would see him and they go, that's a wolf. You know, looks like a dire wolf from Game of Thrones. You guys ever seen those? They're huge. When he stands up, he's as tall as I am. This is a big dog, right? He looks like a wild animal if you don't know him. Now, I know him because I handpicked him when he was 8 weeks old. You know, I've known him since he was a puppy. I know he wouldn't hurt a fly. He's a big old baby. But other people don't know that. So when the delivery guy comes, the Amazon driver, Pizza Hut, or Domino's, whatever, comes to the door, they're terrified. But from my perception, I understand him. I know him. I know he's not a threat, right? That's like the perfect example of it. And with EOMM, a lot of people feel very passionately about it. There's some people that say, well, we don't know exactly how it works. We have no proof, but I know that it exists and it's there. And it's easy for me to blame everything that happens to me on EOMM. And then you have the other side of the people where they're just kind of like conspiracy theorists. Now, from those people, for those people, what I'll say is that a lot of times in life, the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is 6 months to a year. It's very easy to look at something and go, oh, that's crazy. Why would they do this? And then you find out a couple of years later that they definitely did that. And then you learn the reasons why they did it. Then people just kind of brush it off and go, okay, whatever. You know, it's really easy to knock it until, you know, it actually comes to light. And then you go, oh, that's interesting. Whatever, pushing, moving right along. And to the people that think that EOMM is the problem for everything, what I have learned and how, I've talked about this before in a previous video. When I first started, I definitely sensed that there was something different. It was a massive jump coming from a game where there's skill-based matchmaking to where it's like, how in the hell did you get in my rank? There's no possible way that me and you are on the same level and that you're in the same rank as me, because you have absolutely zero understanding, zero game sense, zero game awareness. Meanwhile, my enemy team has all of that stuff, and they're out here just working flawlessly. If I play something, they can switch to the counter immediately. Like, they're working together. If I start trying to dive their supports, they immediately peel for them. All this stuff, right? Meanwhile, my team would watch Captain America jump over them, and they would just be like, yeah, he's not doing anything back there. He's totally not just, slamming a shield all over, my support's face or anything like that, right? And like I said, sometimes you would be on the other end of it, where you would have the team that was completely competent and the enemy team was afraid to leave their spawn. And you're like, how in the world could these people actually be in the same rank as me? It's just not possible. I understand in lower ranks because it's more of a mix. People are just starting out. The game's just starting out. You're putting all the players in one rank and they have to crawl their way out. But after things have settled and these people are hard stuck in these ranks, how exactly is that possible? Why do so many people have a 50% win rate? If skill levels vary so much, why do so many people have 50% win rate? Of course, there are exceptions. There's always exceptions to everything in life. There is nothing that is just cut and dry. There's always an exception to pretty much anything that you can think of. But for the most part, things usually, shouldn't just always be like so predictable. And when you start getting to a point to where you can predict when you're going to start to lose, that's weird. That's not how things should be. Randomness doesn't work that way. If I know, like, oh man, I just got 3 wins in a row. Here comes the losing streak. That's something I've never dealt with in a game before. Wins and losses have been real. I mean, random because that's organic. That's how things happen, right? But when you start getting to a point to where I can predict how things are going to go before they go that way, and it becomes extremely consistent to the point to where I would bet my savings on it, my life savings, what are we really talking about here? You know, and I think denying it is just really, really wild. Now, the thing is that I was going to do a crash out video, but I'm going to wait and hold off on that until Guang Guang or you know, no disrespect to him, he's the GOAT, but whenever they release their video, he's usually the person, I think he's the executive producer or whatever, I forget what his role is. The point is they usually use him as kind of like the mouthpiece for the company. Usually companies do that. They have a face for the company and it's whatever. And he'll probably more than likely be one of the people that talks. They usually use him for that. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now. I'm assuming, because the thing is that they already said we definitely don't use EOMM. They're already coming out the gate with that. That's what the tweet said. The post that they made is what they said. Right? They said we definitely don't use EOMM, but we're going to tell you what we do. Now the thing is that do I trust a business to come out and tell me the truth versus telling me a lie that is going to look better through public opinion and make them look better? No, it's a business. How often does the government or businesses tell us exactly what's happening? No, because most people can't handle the truth. They're going to freak out. They're going to panic. They're going to get mad. They're going to lash out. And who are they going to lash out at? The person that's telling them the thing they don't want to hear. And, you know, like I said, we don't know exactly what they're going to say for a fact, how they're going to break this down. But I just feel like we're about to get gaslit really, really hard, you know? And like I said, it's hard for me to believe that they're not using some form of EOMM. It doesn't have to be exactly how we're seeing it in our heads, but the fact that that's just how gaming is nowadays. There is no, it's not even just gaming, it's everything. It's how everything works nowadays. There's an algorithm for everything that you interact with and that you do. There's an algorithm. That's what AI was like, its original purpose was to be designed for, to do all the stuff that we don't want to have to sit around and do. When you got onto YouTube today and you scrolled through YouTube, the reason you found this video was because of an algorithm. This video doesn't pop up for my mother. You know why? Because she only watches religious videos. That's it. She doesn't interact with stuff like this. And that's by design, that she's only seeing the things she interacts with. You think about it like this. If you ran a business, right? Let's say you, I don't know, you sold candy bars, right? That was your whole thing. You just had a little shop and you sold candy bars. How are people going to know that you have that shop to begin with? Because you're going to market it. You're going to tell people. You're going to do advertising. Now, think about this. When you advertise, do you want to pay thousands of dollars for advertisement and then your product get marketed to people that have diabetes and don't eat chocolate or candy or whatever the case is? No. You want it to be marketed to people that love candy, correct? Or it would just be a waste of time and energy. That's how that works. And it's the same thing with gaming. These are companies. They have millions and millions of dollars on the line. If they know that you're more likely to turn the game off after you've had a day of just getting absolutely destroyed, what do you think they're going to do to counter that? Well, let's rig the matchmaking a little bit. Let's throw a bunch of people on this team that we know can actually go and get the job done. And let's pair them up against a bunch of people that we know are not going to work good together, that rage quit, that like to pick throw characters and do all this other stuff, that don't switch from the counters, whatever the case is. Why wouldn't they? Occam's razor here, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the thing is that a lot of people will say, well, you don't think maybe that's just the randomness of matchmaking? Well, that's the key word, randomness. Random is random. If you sit here and you're using a random number generator, and you just keep saying, give me a random number out of 100, and you keep getting numbers in the 90s over and over again, that's not random at that point. That particular algorithm is favoring numbers in the 90s for some strange reason, whatever the reason is. But nonetheless, it's not random. Random would be that if you ask it 100 times, you really shouldn't be seeing the same numbers most of the time. And it's kind of the same thing with this game. Like I said, when it gets to a point to where I know that if it's my rank up game that I need to get off for the day because I'm more than likely about to get the worst team humanly possible, just because it's the rank up game, there's a problem with that. And this isn't some like conspiracy or whatever. No, it's just a fact at this point. That's what happens. Unless I get off. If I take 24 hours and get off the game and I come back, rank up game is no problem. You know why? Because they're afraid now. They're like, oh, well, Well, maybe he was playing another game. Maybe if he keeps having an issue ranking up, he won't want to play this game as much. It is night and day difference from how it used to be when I would play this game. When I would play this game, I'd say, you know what? Yeah, EOMM may be real, but if I just get good enough, if I just try hard enough, if I just keep queuing up, eventually I'm not going to run into these problems, right? No. Every single time it'd be the same exact way. Because I was telling the algorithm that I liked something that I didn't actually like because I just kept doing it. For example, if you click on my videos and you don't like my videos, but you click on them every day to tell me you don't like them, the algorithm cannot detect from you telling me that you don't like the videos that you don't like it. It's going, well, you clicked on this video this many times. You must love these videos. So we're going to show you more of them. Just like with my mother. The reason why our algorithms look different when we load into YouTube is because we click on different stuff. I love to watch in-depth breakdowns about comic books and stuff that I don't have the time to read or go out and buy every single issue of 100 different comics to tell an overall story or something. So I watch Comic Story, and rest in peace to him. Or, I watch, Rob, I forget his name, his actual YouTube name, but, he goes by Rob or whatever. He does really good breakdowns on comic book stories and stuff. I watch stuff like that. I love to watch wild animals, big cats and stuff like that, dueling it out for territory. I love to watch really, cool videos about deep space and all this different stuff, aliens, all types of stuff, right? If they exist, if they don't, whatever. My wife, she's into Ghost. She loves Ghost. She loves Korean dramas. What do you think her whole entire page is filled up with? It's not rocket science at this point, right? YouTube wants you to log in and stay on the app as long as possible. Do you want it to load in and you have to scroll through a million videos that you're not actually interested in about topics that you don't care about? No, you want it to get straight to the point. If you're into gaming, you want to see gaming videos. And even still, if you're into gaming, that's its own little thing. If you're not playing Minecraft, do you want to see Minecraft videos all through your feed? No. If you're not playing Fortnite, do you want to see Fortnite videos all through your feed? No, you don't care. You only want to see videos for the types of games that you play, or games that might be coming out that are similar to those games. This is why these in-depth algorithms that go, hey, this person, Joe Blow, has the same kind of watch history as Father Dark over here. So every time Father Dark watches a video, we're probably going to, he likes it and he watches it, we're going to recommend it to Joe Blow over here. That's how that works. If you load into this game and you play every day and you sit here and get pounded into the ground, pause, and you keep coming back for more, what do you think the algorithm is going to think? Now, if you play this game and the second that you lose, you get off, well, now you're training the algorithm. You're telling it, I don't like that. I'm going to go play something else. That is their worst fear. These companies do not want you playing anything else. The same way YouTube does not want you jumping off YouTube and going to Twitter. They are competitors. That's how business works. It's not rocket science. Yeah, the devs might play their own game, but the devs are not the people that are funding the game. They are the ones that are programming it. There is a big difference between the programmers and the people that actually fund the game, the people that invest in it. Disney, who has given their IP to this game to be able to do what they, make the game that they want to make, but there's still rules and stipulations they put in place. That's why we don't get a lot of the skins that we feel like we should just be getting, because there's all types of red tape and stuff that they got to cut through to even just be able to get a skin. And that could be a whole separate video on its own. But the point that I'm making is that there's a lot more to it than just, well, why would they put EOMM in the game? Because it's a business. That's why. It's a business. Just like when I make videos for you all. Do you think that we as content creators don't look at our analytics? Analytics is all the data that we have on you. It tells us everything about you, what you like to watch, what you don't like to watch, how long you watched our video, at what point you clicked off of it, what you find interesting, what you don't find interesting, other creators that you follow, and what they're doing and what's trending in those regards. The reason I'm making this video now is because you all care about it. The reason you clicked on it was because you care about it. It is important to you, whether you agree or whether you disagree. Do I want to talk about this right now? Honestly, I'd rather be talking about the leaks for the new Spider-Man movie and how the hell the Punisher is supposed to go against the Hulk. What, are we getting a Hulk Buster equivalent of something for the Punisher? That's what I think is important right now. But are you going to click on that? Or are you going to click on the video where we talk about EOMM? Let's be real here. And you might click on that video, but that's not what you come to me for. My analytics say that if I just say the word EOMM, views shoot up. And I'm just being honest with you all, because that's what we do here on this channel. I'll talk to you like real people. I feel like you're intelligent enough to where I don't have to insult your intelligence. I don't have to put a bunch of sprinkles and stuff all over it and butter it up for you and go, here, look at this. No, I'm just going to give it to you like it is. That's how the world works. That's why you're here right now. You're here right now and you're listening because this is important to you. You care about it. That's how algorithms work. And unfortunately, we're all slaves to the algorithm at the end of the day, even if we don't realize it. It just is what it is. But they're beneficial. Like I said, remember when people used to just get on Netflix and they would complain that they would just have to sit there and scroll all day long because there was just so many choices and it was just all kind of, just thrown on there for you. And it's like, man, I spend more time looking for a movie than I do actually watching the movie. Now they've gotten better. Is it perfect? No, but it's gotten far better. YouTube definitely, not YouTube, but Netflix in the last couple of years has definitely gotten to a point to where I probably spend less time infinitely scrolling, unless it's just a situation where I've seen everything I want to see on there and it's just nothing really new to watch. But for the most part, they've gotten really good at learning me and recommending stuff that I'm interested in based off of my previous choices. Just like I said about YouTube. YouTube used to just kind of be whatever. They just kind of threw stuff at the wall and would see what would stick. It's just random stuff. But now it knows me pretty well. I don't have to scroll very long before I find something that I find extremely interesting to watch. I mean, it just is what it is. So why would we think that gaming is any different? They want your attention for as long as humanly possible, especially live service games. They need it. They depend on it. The more time that you're in the game, the more time that you might actually spend time in here buying something. That's the only way they make money. We don't buy these games ahead of time and spend 60, 70 bucks on them. And in the long run, they actually end up making far more money than games that do, with the exception of stuff like GTA, some of, one of the most anticipated games of the year and stuff like that. But you're getting to the point now to where even games that charge you ahead of time to for access to the game, like an NBA 2K, FIFA, Call of Duty, all these different games, they still have a bunch of stuff that they release in the game, cosmetics and battle passes and all these different things for you. And then now we're even to the point to where it's no longer just battle passes. They usually have some type of premium or advanced, like Call of Duty has what's called the Black Cell Battle Pass. You have the standard one that's like $10, and then you have the Black Cell, which is $30. And it comes with like 3 times the amount of stuff as the standard battle pass. So, but I'm going to wrap it up, though, because I'm coming up on 30 minutes. Like I said, I could talk about this all day, but I did want to just kind of go in and say that I do feel like we're in for the gaslighting of legends here, that they're about to come out and really try to convince us like, no, this thing that you've seen with your own eyes, don't believe that. Just believe what we're telling you. Look over here. Believe what we're telling you. Remember Dave Chappelle? He's just like, yeah, you gonna believe me or you gonna believe your own eyes when he got caught cheating? This girl literally like saw him cheating. He was just like, it's like, yo, you gonna believe me? You gonna believe your own eyes, right? I feel like that's what we're in for, right? And I could be wrong. If I am wrong, I will come back and I will make an apology video and say, hey, I was wrong. I've done it before. I think it was a time where I said Ultron wasn't coming or something, and then he ended up coming, and I made a whole video saying I didn't think he was coming, and I told people if I was wrong, you will hear me. I think for the next 2 or 3 videos in the beginning, just in case people missed it, I said, hey, I was wrong. I apologize. That was my bad. But I don't see it. Simply because I just have a feeling that we're about to go through the same exact stages we went through with Call of Duty. 5 years, this game denied that they use skill-based matchmaking. They tried to tell everybody they were crazy. They're like, oh, but you're crazy. No, if you're just not succeeding in this area, it's all because of you. It's not that these people over here have really easy lobbies because we know what will happen if we put them in with you. They'll just leave our game and go do something else that feels more rewarding or fun to them. No, it's not that. It's just that you're just not as good at the game as you think that you are. People are like, huh? I literally can see these other lobbies where people are not even shooting back. They're not doing anything, no type of advanced movement, nothing. They're using terrible loadouts that no good players would ever use, et cetera, et cetera. And they're just like, yeah, whatever. It wasn't until 5 years later they finally came out and said, look, yes, okay, we use skill-based matchmaking, but we use it because you will not stay on the game if you get put into lobbies with people that are actually way above you. You're going to get like depressed and sad, and you're going to end up going and playing something else that makes you feel better about yourself. Why do you think there's levels like different modes that you can choose in games? Like if you play a single player game, it asks you, do you want to play this on super easy, like the baby mode? Do you want to play it on kind of like a slight inconvenience? You want to play it on beginner, intermediate, or do you want, you're not going to win this level of difficulty, right? A lot of people might start out and they go, yo, I want that hardest level. Yeah, I'm about that life, right? Then they get just absolutely clapped before they can even take 2 steps. And they go, you know what? Let me take it down a couple steps. And if they're still getting dumpster on, they go, you know what? Let me just put on baby mode, but I'm not going to say anything to anybody. Like, that's why it exists. Very seldomly do people actually want to just like deal with getting dumpstered on and actually grow and get better. And it's crazy because when I first started playing games, there wasn't really matchmaking. I mean, there wasn't really anything in matchmaking. Back in like the Modern Warfare 2 days and stuff like that, you would just get paired up with anybody. You could have just started playing the game today and they were just like, okay, we're about to put you in with this clan of guys that almost pretty much do this for a living. And you're just going to get absolutely destroyed. It's called being thrown into the fire, being thrown to the wolves. And to me, it made me a better player because I didn't want to quit. I really enjoyed the game. So I tried to learn from the ways that I got deleted by other people. And I would learn like, oh, that's a really good spot for this, or that's a really good flank route, or whatever the case is. But nowadays, people just, they're not really like that anymore. Nowadays, people get absolutely destroyed. They run to the internet, they complain. They try to find other people so they can live in an echo chamber and say, oh, well, this is why, blah, blah, blah. And, like I was saying about EOMM earlier, I think I got sidetracked, but I just want to add this in because that kind of happens sometimes with rants. But I just wanted to say that, like, unless I didn't talk about it earlier, with EOMM, it is real, but it's not necessarily holding you back as much as you think that it is. Once you get better, EOMM will start to affect you less and less. It's there, but it's kind of like running with a bag of weights on. If you do that every day, eventually you're going to get up to the speed that you would have ran without the bag of weights on. And of course, if you were to take those weights off, you probably would run twice as fast, but you can build up that do that strength conditioning and endurance and stuff like that to get to a point to where the bag of bricks really isn't affecting you as much as it did when you first started out. I'm seeing it in real time with my wife playing the game. I'm seeing her go through the same things I went through. She's in bronze. She's fighting for her life to get to silver. And a lot of times she blames her teammates. And a lot of times it really is her teammates. But eventually she'll get to a point to where she plays the game so well that getting out of bronze and silver will no longer be a problem for her. She'll just breeze past and be able to carry everybody. Then she might get up to gold and platinum. And that's when it gets to a point to where it's like, okay, I kind of need my teammates to actually do something. That's where you're feeling the effects of EOMM. And it's the same with any of you all. There might be a point that you get up to that you say, hey, you know what? Maybe like GM is kind of like that area for me. I was able to breeze up to that point, but now I'm here and my teammates are selling, yada, yada. Now you're feeling EOMM. Because this is a point where the skill ceiling is too high for you to be able to carry anymore. So now you are dependent upon other people. But as you get better and better, you'll be able to get out of GM. EOMM will start to actually have less of an impact on you directly. But a lot of people can't admit that, though. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily right in a team-based game that you should have to be able to carry people. I'm just simply stating that that's how it is. I used to blame EOM for a lot of stuff. I would anytime anything happened, I go, oh, well, that's what it is. Look at my teammates. But now it's to a point to where I don't stay in bronze, silver, or gold for very long. After a couple of days of me playing, I'm out of there. But I know other people, they've been stuck in silver for a long time. And they say, well, what's my teammates? But then I could jump in and play the same exact matches and breeze past it. But then I also have a point that I get to for me, which is platinum. That's the point where I kind of need my teammates to actually carry their own weight. I'm not capable of carrying them out of that rank. That's just for me. Everybody is completely different. There's some people that are like, oh, well, platinum, I had no problem with that. It wasn't until I got to diamond or I got to GM or celestial, whatever, right? That's when I started to, kind of notice whatever. Everybody's different. Never said I was the best at this game. It's just that with age comes a certain level of insight that you begin to have about stuff and a certain level of pattern recognition based off of all the other experiences that you went through in your life. That's just all it is. I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I also wasn't born yesterday. You're not going to sit in my face and gaslight me and tell me, yeah, man, the reason why you can like pretty much predict when you're about to lose, it's just because it's just random, man. No, that's not, that is completely the opposite of random, right? So I'm going to wrap it up, but let me know in the comments what you all think though. Like, do you think that, Marvel Rivals is about to come out and gaslight us to hell? Do you think that we're all just wearing tinfoil hats? Whatever it is, everything in between. What do you all think? I love to hear from you. I don't like this being an echo chamber. I love hearing different people's thoughts and opinions because, like I said, it's very possible to have a certain mindset, just like I did when I made my first EOMM video, Crash Out Rant, probably like 5 months or 6 months ago, however long ago it was. And, there were a lot of people in the comments that disagreed, and now they've come back months later and said, hey, I left a comment a while back and I disagree with what you said, but now it started happening to me and I kind of understand it a little bit more and a bit more accepting of it. And then you have some people that have stuck to their guns this whole entire time, and they're like, no, it's not real. It's not a thing. You're tweaking. You might as well be out here, trying to get beamed up, you know what I'm saying, by the non-existent aliens and all that kind of stuff. And I get it, right? I get it. Like I said, my perception has changed a lot. I used to think EOMM was to blame for everything. And now I'm kind of like, well, it's there, but it's just not as bad as what I originally thought it was. It exists. It's just not the end all, be all or whatever, right? So that's my thoughts on it, but I'd love to hear from you all what your thoughts on it. And like I said, as soon as they drop this video, I am going to go back. And like I said, if I was wrong about anything, if I find out new information, whatever the case is, I'm a man of my word. To me, it doesn't make me less of a person to come back and say, I was wrong about this. I have zero problem with that. If anything, it makes me more of a man to come back and say, look, I was wrong about this, and admit that and stand on it versus necessarily just, going 10 toes down and being like, oh, you know what? No, I don't care what's in front of my face or what facts have been shown to me or whatever the case is. But I do think also that it is possible that maybe a, multi-million-dollar company would lie to protect their interests and stuff. Right. I don't put that past anybody. We're all human beings at the end of the day. Somebody was like, hey, you got to tell some lies on a video for to be able to get your next yacht. Most of you would be Captain America the way you'd be out here capping. You'd have a master's degree in it. A lot of people do that for free, actually. Let's just keep it real, right? So it is what it is. But I do appreciate y'all for listening. Sorry this is a little bit longer video for the people that, why are the videos so long? Because that's what I chose to do. The hell kind of silly ass question was that? Anyway, but I do appreciate you all for listening. Let me know in the comments what you think, what your thoughts are, et cetera, et cetera. And if you want to be able to talk to me a little bit more directly for the people that have made it to the end of the video, go ahead. If you haven't joined the Discord, make sure to join the Discord. I'm in there every day. We have customs every day, which I join in a lot on. We have scrim matches that we do where you can join a team of people and be on a scrim and do that if you really want to be competitive. I think now they've even made like a casual type of scrim for the more casual players, and they've made like a super hardcore, like competitive, kind of like tournament practice type of deal. I also do giveaways and stuff like that at the beginning of every season, in the middle of every season, and once we reach certain milestones in the Discord. I think we just got to 1,000. I think we're like 1,021 members or something like that. So like I said, it's easier to just be able to like directly message me if you have questions or concerns. We do stages. I think we're gonna do one later today where we bring everybody in and we allow everybody to talk. Just a lot of different benefits and stuff, and there is no charge for any of that stuff. It's not like you got to buy like different memberships and tiers to be able to do it. You just join up, you're there, you're part of the crew, the Dark Clan as we like to call it, But yeah, like I said, if you're having a hard time finding that, it's in my bio. Like if you go to my main actual channel page where it shows you all the videos, you see my logo on the top left. You look to the right, you'll click where it says more info, and then you'll see the links. You'll see like the TikTok link and the Discord link, but you don't got to worry about TikTok. I got more than enough followers on there, and I really have started putting a lot more energy into YouTube versus TikTok, just because I prefer actually being able to talk to people and make long form content instead of having to summarize everything in a minute or less for people. So yeah, that's just me personally. But like I said, any questions, concerns, you can find me on Discord, but still in the comment section. If you're not a Discord person, I love hearing from you all. Like I said, even if we don't agree, we can agree to disagree, or we can just talk about it, So, I have no problem with that, as long as you can do it in a way where you actually articulate yourself instead of just coming in and insulting everyone and calling everybody, anything except a child of God, right? Or by their God-given name. So, that's that. But I do appreciate you all for listening. I'm going to wrap this video up. I'm Father Dark, and that's all I got for this one. I'll catch you on the next one. All right.